Now live and on lockdown.
Are you ready?
Broadcasting from Edinburgh, Scotland and across the globe.
Listen here.
You're listening to Ramsey Unleashed, Going Beyond Borders podcast for host Fraser Ramsey.
Good day, everybody. Good day, everybody. Another episode of the Ramsey Unleashed Going Beyond Borders podcast. Doing another interview. I'm racking up interviews so far in January. I'm doing more interviews so far in the first weeks of the year than I did last year. Because I'm taking the opportunity while it's going. But I'm another guest all the way. He's living who found out he had a rare blood cancer. We're going to find out about that, but we're going to introduce him. Sometimes I find the spontaneous interviews are the best and somebody's off the cuff. I have noticed that. And sometimes if you plan it too much, it can be a little bit hit or miss. But the good thing is we love hearing inspirational stories on our podcast, on our show, and basically serving the world, people, and just highlighting what they go through from nothing to something and just making the best of their life from what they've been through. My guest is Dwayne Morton, so I want to introduce you. Thank you for coming on the show at very short notice. And thank you for, even though because you had a meeting cancelled, so it was a very totally chancing it. But tell us how you got to where you are now, and then we can dissect your life from childhood to now. We'll dissect the story.
Yeah, so thank you. Yeah, it was definitely a spur of the moment, and I like those too. And so me and you met about a week and a half ago, and so it was something that I wanted to do, something that God put on my heart to make sure that I did for you. And so for me, first of all, I just want to thank your listeners. Thank you so much for giving me your time. Whether you're getting to listen to this, in the morning, the afternoon, or the night, your precious time is so valuable. So I just so appreciative. Fraser, man, it's nice to meet you. Like I said, a week and a half ago, but like I really wanted to hop on and be able to, to give you my all. And so for me, I am a small town kid from a small rural town in Kentucky, and it's amazing what God has done in my life. Mm-hmm. And so I was able to go play basketball internationally through a mission trip when I was 19. And so I had a different path than most people with playing overseas. Is I did this without actually playing my last 2 years of high school, which is really phenomenal. It's still one of those like where, God moved a mountain. God told me to be prepared, and that happened. And so I ended up injuring my knee. Mm-hmm. My knee injury ended up costing my basketball career, which was fine. I just, I'd hit my ceiling. And so one thing that I want to let you know is like, there's a reason that like I've had to overcome some challenges and obstacles, and you'll understand this when I tell you this part of the story. Okay. When I was overseas, I met a young boy who was 5 years old, and that young boy had not eaten in 3 days. Okay. And so he had eaten rocks, so his belly did not hurt. That broke my heart. That also gave me my core principle of gratitude, or my foundation, either when you're the core or the foundation, you can say whichever one. And so when I went through these challenges that I'm going to say, and then me and you'll get into the interview, is when I got diagnosed with a rare blood cancer at 29, I felt like my nightmares are some people's dreams. I never had to worry about food, water, or shelter. I know that is something that other human beings have to worry about. For me, it was like, man, other people have it worse. Let's just press on. And so same thing. There was a police shooting that I got caught up in the crossfire. I was a bystander. Lucky for me, the bullet did not hit me. It actually hit the C-pillar of the truck. And so what happened was there was a shooting. I was driving by. A bullet hit the truck. It hit part of it's called the C-pillar. It's where the roof and the bed meet the piece of the metal. And so if it would have been an eighth of an inch, it would have got me. And if it would have been an eighth of an inch, it would have gotten my little niece, who was 3 years old at the time.
Right.
And then in March of 2024, another miracle happened, and I found out that I was misdiagnosed of the rare blood cancer. And so after I healed, I've decided, well, I'm not going to say I decided, God decided for me to come out and like teach people how to overcome adversity. And so this is why I'm here. And so Fraser, man, let's get this thing rolling.
So tell us about. I always like to, as I say, most people who listen to interviews, I always like to dissect and find out the foundation. The foundation is where you starting in life, where you're born, brought up, that kind of thing. So tell us about your sort of first 20 years of your life, and how good or bad was it, and tell us just dissect your sort of journey.
Yeah. So for me, man, I grew up in a small rural town, and it's called Benton, Kentucky. Less than like 5,000 people. I live in a part of it that's outside of it. So I live, my parents and even my grandpa, my grandma like lived right beside me. So, whenever I wanted to get some fun family time, I would walk down and see my grandpa and my grandma, and then also my great aunt. And then I also had uncles and aunts that, they were there. And I have an uncle who is more like a brother. He lived there too. So I would always go down there and just kind of hang out and learn and play cards and just things like that. But honestly, probably where I spent most of my time was this basketball court. And so through that's where I believe I learned resiliency and persistence.
Yeah.
Is the basketball go, you couldn't change the height of the go. Okay. It was 10 foot. So I was out there at 4 years old, and I would throw the basketball and just hope to hit the net. And then when I hit the net, I was like, oh, let's try to hit the rim. And then hopefully maybe it'll go in. And then it was like, okay, I can hit the rim now. Let's try to see if I can and then the basket started going in, and I fell in love with the game. And I fell in love with shooting. And so I still shoot right now to this day, every day. If I have the ability to shoot, I'm shooting every day.
What I mean, obviously we've discussed briefly. You're 6'2". Were you a kind of quite a tall 4-year-old?
So I was always tall until I got about my freshman year of high school. So about 15, 16 years old is where I kind of quit growing. And then that's also why I had to change a position in basketball. That actually really kind of helped me. But it put me behind too. So what I want to say too is, because you brought up my childhood. So I'm a firm believer that 1 to 8 year old, there's something there that like has a huge impact. So my parents, so this will be the first interview that I talk about my parents like this. So my mom and my dad are both not at high school. My mom graduated high school. My dad did not. My dad went into the Navy. And so they always instilled getting your high school diploma. They always instilled education. Now, they also instilled hard work. And through that business that they started when I was 4 years old, I learned how to treat people with respect, how to treat people with kindness, and also how to run a business. And so I believe that is why I have such a strong passion for entrepreneurship, because I seen my parents do it. So my mom and my dad went to work pretty much the same time. My mom helped my dad as much as humanly possible. And that's another thing is like, I believe most women wouldn't have done this type of stuff she did. She actually she went into a dirty garage. My dad does exhaust work for cars.
Okay.
And so it's not clean, it's really dirty. And so, but my mom would go and she would hand him tools, and she would do anything she could do to like make that easier. And then later on, when my dad and his partner split, and my dad was sole ownership, my mom took over and did the bookwork, which was part of what I did when I was there. So not only did I help my dad when I worked there, I also helped my mom. So that's where I believe the business sense that I got too. So I have this passion for entrepreneurship, but I was learning through my mom. The other aspect is like my mom was in a car accident and I had just started learning how to do like the bookkeeping.
How old were you then? How old were you when you started learning that?
So I started doing the bookkeeping at like 15, 16.
Right, okay.
And when my mom was in the car accident, I believe I was 18.
Right.
18 or 19. And so just to let you know is like I had to flip that switch of like, hey, I've got to help save my family's business because my dad had always depended on my mom. And so I just kind of wanted to explain that timeline because I feel like there was that childhood dream of like owning his own business that was coming into fruition, but also like I wanted such a big part of my family, like that legacy. If that makes sense.
Did you you said that I'm guessing your mom and dad divorced at some point, and you hence the reason.
No.
It's not a partner. It was a business.
My parents are happily. No, man, my parents are happily married. No, that's fine.
That's when you said partner. I thought when you said partner, I thought I wasn't sure.
No.
So they're all good.
No. Their partner. No. Their partner. Their business partner.
Got you. I missed that part.
No, that's okay. And also the other aspect of this is my mom and dad. They trusted someone they shouldn't have trusted.
Got you. So
and so I had to learn some lessons from them. And that's the thing is so whenever I look for partnerships, I'm also very leery. I'm also like I need to vet them because my parents got a huge IRS bill that they shouldn't have received. It should have been the other person. Right. So I'm just trying to let you know, like, this is the type of person that like that this is why I built the way I am. It's because of these small little like Lego blocks or, like those little wooden blocks when I was a little kid, you just kept stacking them. And for most viewers, they know Legos. So we'll just go by Legos. But that's the whole thing is like everything was just another piece of this great puzzle that this is why I'm this, the way I am. And so my parents, they've been happily married for like 51 years. I think it'll be 51 in March. So, I mean, I'm extremely fortunate. And Fraser, I mean, so I was shown unconditional love throughout my whole time. Now, I'm not saying like we didn't have issues. We did. But like I had very supportive parents. It wasn't until I was overseas until I actually had a game where my parents were not there. Like I actually put a picture of them in my shoe. I took an Air Jordan and I took the padding and stuck a picture underneath of my mom, my dad, and my brother because they had always been at every game.
Right. So when did you start? Obviously, when did you start the basketball? Obviously, you're practicing constantly the basketball. When did you start getting? Obviously, I'm guessing you played basketball for your school. I'm guessing.
Yeah. So I played in Little League for my school. So I played 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th grade in Little League, and I was good. And then I was average. It was just depended on the competition. And that's the thing is like, but what I did was I improved every year just a little bit. And like I just did, here's the other thing is my mindset was not good. My mindset was also at the point where it was just like, let's do whatever we got to do to just get by, which I don't have that anymore. Like I'm Mr. Show Up to Win now, but just to let you know, like it didn't just come naturally, like it came through lessons.
So what so tell us about generally basketball. Obviously you're hit your 20s. When did you leave school? Did you go to university or college at all? Did you?
Yeah, so no, it's a great question. So for me is when I graduated high school, I went to a Bible college, a local Bible college. It did not have a basketball team. I had quit my junior year of high school. There was no path for me to go to college to play college basketball. There was none. And that's why this is where the story gets really good, Fraser.
Well, tell us what. Just before the one question: were you brought up in the church by your folks, or did you? How did that?
So this is the church part. So
okay, let's do this.
I grew up in church. We didn't go very often.
Right. Okay.
We went, but we didn't really go. And what I say that is like we were there just to go. It was not part. So
routine, basically.
So it was.
It was like the done thing, like it was done thing kind of thing.
It was instilled in us. Right. My dad decided, hey, he would rather us spend family time together, and that's fine. Like I wasn't. It actually helps me out actually in this story. Yeah. So at 17 years old, so my junior year of high school, my grandmother passes away.
Right.
So my grandma passes away is the toughest thing I've ever had to deal with at that point. So I was depressed. I was sad. I gave up the one thing that I really loved. I quit playing basketball on a high school team.
Right.
And so through that, I still played, though. That's what I was going to say. I still went outside and shot. I just didn't like the structure. I needed to get the fun back. Mm-hmm. The other part, and this is where church comes in, is as I'm playing basketball, there was someone who invited me to a church. It's a different denomination than what I was. And I would ask my parents to go to church. My parents at first were very hesitant because the two denominationals of the churches don't really get along.
Right.
And so my mom told my dad, he said, if he wants to go to church, it's a lot better going there than not going at all. So through this part of the journey, I became a Christian. I became a believer. I accepted Jesus as my Lord and Savior. I got better at basketball. I taught myself visualization. All of these things came all at one time.
What was the teeth in there? What was the denominations? The difference, as we're trying to say.
So man, honestly, it's just doctrine, man. Doctrine is just man-made stuff, and that's the problem with church, man. Is like this doctrine stuff. Like, I don't even. It's not even worth the time or the energy, honestly. Like, it's just doctrine. It's man-made stuff. And honestly, Fraser, man, I can sit there and I would like upset some people in my hometown, and some people would cheer me on. It's like, it's not worth it. Like,
so I'm curious.
I know what I believe.
I'm I don't know. You're leaving me hanging.
Yeah, no, it's one of those things. Like, I don't say, hey, I would rather not answer that question. I'm answering this the most PC way I can. And I'm not a very politically correct person. But
neither am I.
That is probably my one thing where I just don't want to name it because I feel like it doesn't need to be named.
Interesting. Okay, I'm going to have to chat to you about that off camera then. Maybe never say off live. That's left me hanging. Anyway, I've got to laugh about that one. Sorry, I'm just kidding. We'll move on from that one then. So basically, a bit of church politics thing going on. Can he beat it anyway? So you became a Christian, which is great. So you started playing better So what next? What happened?
So I not only started playing better, I taught myself visualization. So that's the other part of it.
Explain visualization to people.
Yeah, absolutely. So sorry, my foot slipped. So visualization is where you close your eyes,
right,
and you visualize doing the same exact thing that you're planning on doing. And so for me, I would go outside and do my drills, and then I would go in and I would ice my knees and I'd close my eyes, and I'd visualize going through the drills. And so I didn't understand at that time that it helped give me confidence and experience. Guess what? When you visualize, you are visualizing making the baskets. So my confidence went incredibly up. Also, because I wasn't playing structured basketball, I was having more fun, but I was also playing more. And so not only did I get better through the drills, I got better playing the game against other people, mostly men too. That's the other thing. I played with people who were older. So the visualization thing I taught myself, but I did the same thing that I did when I learned how to type. So when I was like in middle school or junior high, whichever one, I'm not sure which one, how global, like which one it is, but like, so when I was like 12 or 13, I taught myself how to type. Like, you know, they taught us to type, but like I taught myself how to be even better. I would see things on TV and then I would use my fingers and I would do the letters in my head and in my with my typing, right? And so all I did was apply the same thing that made me a really good typer to basketball, and I didn't know the effects of it.
Got him. Well, the education over here is basically we start school at 5 years old, depending on when you're born, give or take. Sometimes a bit early, sometimes depending on what year you go in. But as primary school up until the age of you start at the age of 11, it's primary 7, so you do 1 to 7. Then you do secondary school, which is basically from 12 up until 18, 6. So you want first year up to 6th year. So that's the sort of standard education up here. Then if you want to go to college or university afterwards, that kind of thing is what you can do.
Right. So for here is from 5 years old, there's 6 levels. So kindergarten to 6th grade. Fifth grade, and then 6th, 7th, and 8th is what you call middle school, which is just getting you prepared for high school, which is 4 more years. So it's like, I believe it's 12 years. And so my path is just extremely different, man. I mean, it's like with basketball, all of this, but like when I started going to church and I became a Christian, I was all in.
Got you.
I was completely all in. Like my grandmother's death made me think about the afterlife. Like the Holy Spirit was working on me. I mean, all of this is what happens. This is what's supposed to happen. You know, for me, I knew there was a wind, right? I couldn't see it. I could see the effects. I can feel the wind. Same thing. I just started looking for it. And so that's what, I mean, it's one of the most beautiful times of my life.
What was the name of the Bible college you went to?
So they no longer exist. So
okay.
I mean, and so I went there 1 year. It wasn't a good time, man. I mean, I'll just be honest. Like there was some things that like I just, my growth part, I just wasn't aligned with it. And so I actually ended up going to a local community college while I had, because this was after, this was also the space where I went overseas too. So I went for 1 year, or actually 1 semester at the Bible college. And then the basketball part came, and I went back to the Bible college, and like, I wasn't accepted. So when I say I don't want to name it, like there's no reason to name it. It doesn't exist anymore.
Okay.
Right.
Fine.
I'm just letting you know. And so then I went to a regular college, and I found all kinds of great people through that college part. And so but also the other aspect is I was out of alignment, man, with some things. Like I wasn't just living the perfect Christian life too. And that, you know, and I'm a man enough to say like, hey, this is where my mistake was. But really it wasn't a mistake. It was actually lessons on lessons on lessons.
So obviously you've learned, obviously you realized that you're living a bit of a double life. Would you want to say? So
I wouldn't say a double life. No. I would not say a double life. And when I say that is Yeah, no, what I would say is like sometimes you have to learn really hard lessons.
Right.
Sometimes God just says, hey, go out on your own.
What kind of lessons were you learning? What kind of
Yeah, no,
lessons?
I mean, and guess what, Fraser? All those lessons that I learned in that period, guess what? They're really applicable right now. The other part of it is I went and probably 25 to 50 like interviews for a youth minister job.
Right.
And they said no. So I felt like the door was closed in my face. So I walked away. I said, okay, you say I'm not ready. Okay, I get prepared. And then guess what? I went and there's 20 years in the desert. I mean, so our journeys are different, man. Like, and that's the thing is like, I'm not a judgment person. I don't judge. You can take a short route or you can take the long route. And I promise that shorter route that I was probably given at 19, 20 of being a speaker and that kind of stuff, it probably was there. I just didn't want it. I never looked at myself as a speaker.
Okay.
Even in May of last year, like when someone asked me if I was a speaker or a coach, I was like, no, I'm not either. I'm just like a business person. So I'm just letting you know, like that's the growth cycle that God's seasons are different than our seasons.
When did your basketball come to an end?
Really quick. So I did the mission trip as about 3 months. And then I went back. I signed with an agent. The agent was looking at different teams and stuff like that. Different salaries. I mean, like he was looking global. You know, I know that there was one place in Australia that I was looking at going, and you know, we were talking about contract, and you know, I hurt my knee. I had knee surgery. I was expecting, hey, to bounce back. My knee surgery didn't go as well as we planned, and through that, I was like, hey, I'm done with my basketball career. I'm looking for life. I want to do something else, and so I was looking at being a sports psychologist. Like I told you, I taught myself visualization. And so there was always this aspect of sports with the mind that always would like intrigue me. And so there was other parts of the journey that I just had to learn some really hard lessons. And sometimes you just have to understand when you look at someone else's path, not to judge it. And I think that us as Christian people, like we do that a lot. And like, think about this. He set us free. And yet we're the ones that are thinking about the past. The past is done. The past has already been paid for. So I don't really pay a lot of attention to the past. Like I'm willing to come in here and like talk a little bit about it and to give everybody some, but like, I really feel like the more and more that I'm talking about the past, I'm going to get depressed and sad. Right. And so it's really about that part shaping up to the adversity later on. And that adversity, you'll find out that through that adversity and those challenges is the reason that the reason that I could go through them was because of all these things.
Did you ever struggle with any mental illness like depression at all?
Yeah. So, I mean, if we're talking about at the diagnosis, yes, absolutely. Before, no. I had issues with anxiety, but I didn't know what anxiety was.
Right,
like that's the thing is I wasn't going to talk therapy at 20, 24 years old. No, there was nothing. I lived a great life. So what was I upset about? That's the other thing.
So things are good for you up until obviously up until you saw the basketball ended, then you were trying to set up the business and that kind of thing, you know?
Yeah. So the basketball ended and it was fine. Like when I say that because I felt like I hit my ceiling. Right. I wasn't going to the NBA. Like I knew that, hey, there was other things in life that I really wanted to do. Hey, give me just 1 second.
Brief pause. We'll be back in a second. There we go. Oh.
Sorry.
All right. That's all right.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah. So sorry. Like I have these soft lights. I was going to turn them on. So
That's fine.
But yeah. So all of these things, they prepared me for the diagnosis, the thing with the basketball, like all of that. Was I depressed? I don't know about that time. I was going through some relationship stuff. I was going through trying to figure out girls and things like that. I'm just being honest. Like I really was just trying to find my way.
Okay. So what? So when did you're obviously it's blood cancer. When did you get this diagnosis? How did this all come about?
Yeah. So I was I was 29 years old. It was 2006. Yeah, man. Like I was like anyone else. I was working a lot, and I still was running. I was still doing things. I got a new job. Probably 2 weeks into the training, I was just really tired, and I couldn't figure out why. Because I was like, I'm sleeping more. Why am I? And then I had this like, I ran the day before this, and I was walking to work, and I couldn't get up 3 flights of stairs, and I was like, oh, something's wrong. I don't know what it is, but I'm having a really difficult time breathing. And so at first they thought, it was a panic attack, and they thought it was like some different things. They ran some tests. I passed the first test, and then I went back to get another test, and he was like, dude, you're very dehydrated. He's like, I need to send you to somebody else. And so he sent me to an oncologist. Now, in my mind, oncology is cancer, correct? So I wasn't thinking that I was like, why he sent me to a cancer doctor? Like that's the way I was looking at it. And so through this, I go in, I find out that I have been diagnosed with this rare blood cancer, or it's actually a rare blood disease that turns into a rare blood cancer. Okay. Also, not very many people at the time had it. So this is 2006. There's less than 200,000 people globally that had it at this point. And I was told that I probably had 5 years. And so later on, I find out that it's probably more closer to 15. But that point, I was like, listen, I'd already accomplished my dream playing basketball past high school. I felt like I was a really good basketball player. I was like, okay, God, you allowed me to do this because I have to go through this. You prepared me. I understand. And so throughout that, I was thinking about that little boy, right? That little boy had to worry about food, water, shelter. I never did. So I felt I was okay with it. Now, was I okay with it throughout the whole ordeal? There was challenges. But my mindset was like, even the people that were around me, like they didn't understand that like I was in a place of rest.
Mm-hmm.
I had to play chess rather than checkers. I was always looking to make some type of move, but I realized I only had a certain amount of window. I had only a certain amount of energy.
Oh, yeah.
So,
what treatment did they do for blood cancer? Did you go through anything like that?
No. So lucky for me, I didn't have to go through chemo or the pharmaceuticals because it would have killed me. I was perfectly healthy. That's the thing. So for me, it was just phlebotomies, which is just the same as bloodletting.
Right. Same as me. I was too healthy when I had my cancer. They did all the tests. No, you're too healthy. I said, great. That's
right.
Good.
Well, it's called a medical miracle, man. God's in the miracle business, and so that's that. I mean, when I found out I was misdiagnosed, that's what I looked at it as. Okay, I've been praying for this the whole time, and when it happened, it was great. But to get back to where in
Yes.
this timeline, right? Oh, I suffered. I mean, I suffered because I also was looking back. I was always looking back. I was depressed. I wanted to be that person that was healthy.
Right.
What I should have done was I should have prepared myself for anything. I should have been doing personal development. I should have been doing all kinds of stuff. And I did do that at some points. I just wasn't as consistent. So that's the thing. I feel like looking back, I wish I would have taken the time and energy, and instead of watch, every Lakers game or watch every college football game or play video games, I took that time and I actually like built myself up. And so that's the other thing is like the people that are listening right now, like most of them are probably pretty healthy, but they probably watch Netflix. They probably eat unhealthy food. Like there's some changes that we can do when we really want to get the stuff that we want. And so for me, man, I got diagnosed.
Mm-hmm.
They gave me some things that they tested me for narcolepsy. And, I didn't have it, but, I was using those type of I was using antidepressants. I was using, that was a stimulant, the narcolepsy drug. So that, there was different things that were happening. I mean, I'm just letting you know, like there was, if there was a test for it, we ran it.
Oh, yeah.
Except sleep apnea, which is what I have. We ran a home test. My insurance would not allow them to do a center test. If they would have done a sleep center test, we would have found it.
So what's the difference? So a sleep center test. So for the cancer or the apnea? Sorry.
No, so this is about what I have right now. This is what I have. Like it got misdiagnosed to a blood cancer because all the proper information they needed that was not given.
Right.
Yeah, and so I must have barely passed the home test, and they were like, "Well, no, he doesn't have sleep apnea," that's what I have. And so for me, I'm not vengeful about the doctors like that misdiagnosed me. Okay.
So basically, they said you had blood cancer, but you've actually got sleep apnea.
Right, and there was 7 doctors that looked at this stuff. The 7th doctor is the one that released me. They just put me in a box and they never let me out. I actually should have been released probably 8-9 years ago.
Crikey! So to go through, so how long? So what from the time from the period they said at 29 when they said you had blood cancer? How old are you now?
So I'll be 48 in March. So
when did you get the all clear? So how many years were you going through this blood, technically knowing that you thought you had blood
06
cancer?
to 2024.
So literally, my goodness. So 18 years that you had misdiagnosed from blood cancer. And then you suddenly find that it's just sleep apnea. That is brutal. That is how can you wonder how can they miss such a big take such a wide berth and miss something so simple, but create.
It happens all the time, man. It happens all the time in the medical community. And I'm not trying to lay down the law in the medical community. I mean, I don't feel like there's enough checks. I mean, I'm not in that industry, so I don't know it all. But what I'm saying is you would think that after the other previous doctors, you would think they would have looked and been like, oh, this is a possibility. So just to let you know, the guy who released me, he felt like I either had sleep apnea or COPD. I've never smoked a cigarette in my life. So that's the other aspect of it. And so,
so basically from having, sleep, because for those who don't know what sleep apnea is, it's basically, I know I've had a previous client that had that. Obviously, I'm guessing you with sleep apnea, you struggle with you still have energy level dips, or you or is it all right? No,
I'm good as long as I use my CPAP machine, man. I mean,
helps you breathe at night. Yeah,
absolutely. I sleep like every night when I get ready to go to sleep. I love that thing. I'm ready to put the mask on. Like it just takes some time to get used to it. It takes a few days or a week. Like once you find a ability to be comfortable with it, it's probably one of the greatest things in the world for me, because it gave me my life back. So I'm like, I'm willing. That's the other thing is I tell people all the time, I'm willing to do what most people are unwilling to do. I know people who have sleep apnea right now that complain about that mask. And I'm like, I will take that mask every night and without a problem.
Yeah.
Because it gave me my life back.
What was obviously before you got diagnosed with sleep apnea, how was your sleeping pattern before? Was it what kind of how many hours of sleep did you usually get a night?
It's a great question, and it's a question that I have to reflect on. No, I did not. So I didn't prioritize sleep.
Right.
I didn't prioritize sleep. I stayed up all night. I stayed, I was probably I was anywhere between 3 and 5 hours of sleep. But here's the thing. I wasn't getting sleep. It was the rest part. My body never went into REM. So there would have been no difference. If I would have taken 8 hours, I still would not have done what my body needed me to do, or my body needed it to do. So yeah, it's one of those things, man. It's one of those medical mysteries.
Mm-hmm.
I like to call it a medical miracle. Whether it's the doctor who got it messed up or whatever, it got cleared. So. Because we're Christians, this is the same thing that Jesus did, man. Like he cleared it.
Mm.
And that's why I don't like to really talk so much about the negative. I utilize the negative to bring out the positive.
Got you.
Right?
With,
same thing with like the church part. The church part, I bring out, not worry about the negative, and I just focus on the positive.
Good. So with the period of going through thinking you had blood cancer, which is sleep apnea, obviously you said you're quite limited to what you couldn't do because your obviously energy levels are up and down. When did you kick off? When did the Show Up to Win kick off, or what work were you able to? I'm guessing you weren't able to do much work because you're probably so tired all the time. But how did you get into start again? How did it lead into the CEO of Show Up to Win? That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah, so there's another aspect of this, and that's the other trauma. And the other trauma is really where Show Up to Win kind of started, but I needed to be the whole being healthy part is what like ran the ball back. What happened was you have to be prepared for stuff. So Show Up to Win, if I would have been misdiagnosed in 2014 or 2015, Show Up to Win would not have been born.
Go ahead.
No, I wouldn't have done it. I mean, there was no reason I would have been like, oh, I'm clear, I'm fine, right? But there was this other aspect I had to go through. And so in 2022, there was a police shooting that happened in my small town. And so when this police shooting happened, if you look at this from the odds, just the odds, it was a miracle that I'm here. It's a miracle that my niece is here. And so once I was given that miracle, I understood I was divinely protected. Why am I protected? That's what I was thinking. Because guess what? I was only given 15 years. Do the math from 2006 to 2022. I felt I should have already been gone. So for God to give me a miracle, which is what he did, I knew I had to have more of a purpose. I couldn't understand it at that time. And I also struggled with the PTSD and the survivor's guilt. I used to hit my head on the pillow every night, and I would be like, God, I don't understand why you're giving me all these opportunities because I can't do anything with them. And I don't like to use the word I can't. I was just like, but I wasn't able to do anything with them. Like I'll take my word back but I just want to let you know I wasn't able to do anything with it. And so God was preparing me.
Well, what I was trying to say, how was, obviously, well, a lot of people, not to sort of, I hate talking about the pandemic, but how did that affect, how was your sort of life during over there in your side of town with the pandemic? Were you quite limited to what you could do, or were you just kind of carrying on with what you're doing as normal?
So I live in a small town, man, and like I'll be honest, there were some people that masked up. There were some people that masked for a little while, and then they were like, "We're not doing this anymore." Um, I was on the part where I masked where I needed to. I
Nah,
took the mask off when I didn't
couldn't
want
bother.
to, and then I just was like, I was like, all these people are getting, all these people are getting this, and it's killing them. And I'm already at this point of like, I've got like a year left. I'm not
Nah,
really too damn worried about it. And that's
true.
the way I looked at it. I really just was like, I'm not worried about this.
Got you.
And I know everyone was scared to death. I'd already dealt with that part. And that's what other thing is. I'd already dealt with death. Like I'd already dealt with, hey, I'm going to die.
Because
So
of the,
I
yeah,
had already, so when everybody else was panicking, I was like, I was worried about others, not so much about myself. So my self-care was actually really low. That's the other aspect of all of this. As I'm talking to you, I realized how bad my self-care was. My self-care sucked.
right.
And so, um,
So I'm just watching the time, you've got a meeting to go to shortly.
yeah.
So let's fast track a little bit forward. With you started to show up to win, that's all kicking. What is show up to win? Tell us about it, and what's your kind of plans going forward for it?
Yeah. So Show Up to Win is a program I created because I couldn't find it. I created it because I couldn't find it. Like all through those 18 years that I needed something, I could not find this program.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to keep myself consistent. So I have to create a community. And guess what? To keep my community consistent, they have to have a community. It's a perfect circle. There's going to be so much receiving and giving. It's going to be so amazing. And so what it is I teach people how to overcome adversity and unlikely and untimely circumstances. I've done it twice. And the beauty part of this is I couldn't teach it if I didn't go through it.
Right.
So that's why, I feel like I had to go through it. So I knew what my purpose was. My purpose, man, is to help a lot of people. I have a huge heart. God has always given me a big, huge heart. And so I have all these relationships. And so this is the cool thing, Frazier, is I'm meeting people that I'd already met who I wasn't really able to do anything for me because I was unhealthy and I was sick. I'm using those relationships right now, okay? Because now they can actually support and help me. And so, but Show Up to Win is my signature program, and my signature program is about coming to a meeting with intention.
Okay.
Going to work with intention. So I tell people when I practice like it's a championship game. So the championship games only feel like practice. So a lot of other people will tell you just show up, like go to class. But honestly, man, if you aren't there and you're not actually mentally there,
So
that's
kind
why I
of,
say show up to win.
would you say it's kind of how to teach people to develop a good work ethic?
It teaches people how to have a good work ethic, but it shows them that they deserve to have a strong work ethic. That's the difference. My program is about showing people that they deserve better than what they are.
Right.
My program is not for everybody. Like I'll go ahead and tell you, there's a lot of people I don't want because guess what? They truly don't want it. So the listeners that are listening and they want to look at my program is for the people who do not want to do minimum. I'm not a minimum person.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to do the work, but I also want you to have the success. When you accomplish your dream, I remember going to conferences and thousands of people there, and the speakers would be like, "Who's ever accomplished their dream?" My hand went straight up. There was very few people that had their hand up. And when I was doing this in my 20s, they were like, "How in the world did you accomplish your dream? You're only a this, this, this." Again, it's always the people that want to judge. But here's the thing too, Fraser, man. Most people who criticize people, they're saying it because they were feared. They have their fear. They're scared. So here's the thing is I equip people to take that fear, turn it into courage, and turn that courage into inspiration. Those 5 o'clock practices, those 5 o'clock gym things, they're easier when you're actually inspired. And so my job is to find the people that had the fire and just need it relit. And I just work with people and I find what makes them tick. And like, here you go. And so I give them a playbook and I tell them, hey, not every one of these plays is for you. But what we can do is we can create your own playbook so you know what works for you.
Just a question. Are you still going to the same church you are now that you were going to, or are you going somewhere different completely?
So I am currently not attending a local church.
Okay.
I'm currently doing a online church with some friends of mine. And for me, it works for me. Okay. Some people it doesn't work for. Cool. Like, I'm looking to move here in a few months. I don't want to put roots down and have to. So for me, it's like I'm online with my friends because I trust them. Okay. The other part of this is to go back to my program is there's different things that are simple, but they just need to be heard in a different manner.
Go ahead.
And so I just want to tell that it was like, and so you can go to showup.info, and that's with the number 2, and you can sign up and put your information in. If you put your phone number, I might actually call just to find out like what your actual problem is or what your actual, like, what I could do to actually find a solution for your issue. And so for church, man, like church, I feel is a very wonderful thing. My walk is my walk. Your walk is your walk. Everybody's walk is their walk. We're at different parts of our journey, man.
Of course.
And I think we have to be mindful of that as like different things are just going to be different for everybody else. And so I look at people from a grace side. I do not look from a place of judgment. And that's another problem that I have with certain churches and organizations. They're all about like, I'm all about, let's just be human beings, be kind and love each other. That's it. And I'm not talking about like the hippie stuff and go hug a tree. I'm just saying like, it's absolutely, I feel like the root part of just being a human.
Have you ever hugged a tree?
No, I mean, I can, it's bamboo. No, never hugged a tree. Actually, I take that back. I have hugged a tree because I was climbing a tree for hunting, and I actually just hugged it because if I wouldn't have, I might have fell. So,
just in case you're bored, you can hug a tree. There we go. Just in case you've got nothing to do. But anyway, so going forward, it's still January. For those who are listening, what's your forecast? Have you got a forecast for the year? You got do you ever set goals or aims that you want to achieve and do going forward?
Yeah. I want it all. God said live an abundant life. And when I say that, like, I mean, like it's in scripture, man, we're abundant creatures. So like, I'm not talking about materialistic. I'm talking about like goals. Like I have goals over goals on goals, but like, you know, I'm going to host my own podcast, and it won't be a small podcast. It's going to be a big podcast. Like I want those things because I feel like I need the platform so I can help people. It's not about me, man. None of this is about me. I'll leave with this. And when I say I'll leave with this, I mean, like, I'll tell you the biggest epiphany that happened that really got my that really got my trajectory going straight up. I always told some people that, like, I don't mind being Superman every now and then. Rip off the suit, fly around, save the city, come back home. I want to be Clark Kent.
Okay.
I just like Clark Kent. Clark Kent and me are like best friends. I like being at home.
Oh yeah. So where can people?
This coach Fraser told me this.
Okay.
Clark Kent's Superman. Superman's Clark Kent. They're the same.
Exactly.
And that was the epiphany for me. Is it didn't matter where I was still Superman.
So where can people connect with you if they want to do your course, as you've just briefly said, but just to reiterate, where's the best place to connect with you?
Yeah, so showuptowin.com is actually going to be it's releasing on February 1st. I created another website called showuptowin.info, and that's show up and then the number 2 and then win.info. And so, like I said, that's the contact form. As soon as it goes live, you'll get an email to tell you it's live. I'm looking forward to finding what issues other people have and to give them a solution. I want people not to go through their struggles. I want to help them. That's also one of the reasons I love coaching. I love having that front row seat to seeing people turn their lives around. It's one of the most joyful things in the world.
Yeah. I'm just watching. I was watching Time Conscious, but I got distracted by the flat upstairs, unfortunately, with the noise. Which is, end of the day, it's the joys of having Airbnb above you, which is they don't really. Anyway, don't get me started. Another frustration.
It's okay, man. So here's the thing: distractions are distractions, man.
I know.
That's what you do with them.
Exactly. So I'm gonna keep going on. But anyway, I'm gonna watch it. I'm time conscious as well. I know you've got a meeting to go to, and it's very spontaneous. So, yeah, what we'll do is we'll have all of your links in the show notes, and we look forward to when it comes to when I put it out on the audio version. But just want to say it's been good to thanks for the opportunity to have the spontaneous podcast to be able to. Yeah, just to be able to take the time. A cancellation. It's been good just to have that quick, spontaneous interview, and hopefully we can chat again in the future, and we can keep in contact, and maybe we can do something again, another interview when you get launched officially. I have a global press release coming out next week. That's good. Look forward to that. We can go from there. But listen, thanks again for the time. And hopefully, just to hear about your story and I need to change the title because obviously you misdiagnosed. I should have got to put that in, but it's just to be misdiagnosed from from cancer to something that's more serious, to just simply sleep apnea, which is more simpler to be treated. That is just like wow to have that.
So Fraser, man, go listen to my podcast stuff that I've done, and they're on my profile.
Yeah,
like I go more deeper. Because, I mean, I feel like you're going to be like, oh, I wish that I would have heard the other stuff first, so you would have had a better understanding. But that's fine, man. I mean, like, it's cool. I'm just letting you know, like, it.
It was
so
it was just
you'll understand my story and why I'm looking at the positive part, because I'm looking to create an impact.
No, of course. Well, listen, I'll let you. I'm going to say, thank you for your time, and I will look at your podcast, and I will. You do just briefly do your own podcast yourself. You host one, or you just?
No, I'm not yet. I will.
It'll
be big. I mean, that's the thing is like
right.
I have. Right now, I'm doing just any podcast pretty much, and then I'll step up and do like the smaller, and then the medium, and then the large, and then at some point, I have friends on friends who will show up for me.
Right.
So that's the thing is like I want to host because I have the friends. I have the connections to get the people that other people want to pay attention to.
Right. Got you.
Those stories, yeah.
Cool. Listen, to everyone who's been listening and watching, wherever you are watching on the replay, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, we'll have all the Dwayne's links in the show notes when it comes to, and a bit of a bit of a biography spiel as well. But we look, as I say, we look forward to connecting with more people. If you're interested in being interviewed and chatting, I'd love to hear your story, wherever you've come from and direction in life. And it's always good to inspire people and just to keep moving forward and keep climbing that ladder. So to everyone who's been listening and watching, wherever you are in the world, we look forward to catching up you again on the next show. You take care and have a good one, and we'll speak to you all soon.
Sorry,